Okay, let's make a start, inshallah. So we will still be, inshallah, we're starting still with the tajweed. We'll be doing the 30 minutes of tajweed first, and then Sister Zuleika, inshallah, will be doing her tafsir, inshallah, after for another 30 minutes. So everything's just kind of run over 30 minutes. So my apologies for that. Okay. So we have here, we'll start with the isti'adha and the basmala. So if I could start with you, Auntie Nasreen. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
Yes, just remember, Auntie, for the sheen, no lips for the sheen, right? Relax. You don't want to protrude them. من الشيطان الرجيم.
من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Okay, we'll just say that last word again. Ar-Rahim.
الرحيم.
Okay, so we have here Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, and I did say that we've already done this before. We know that the mud here is 4 to 5 counts. We know that we are doing, for those of you that are familiar with nabar, we're doing that emphasizing between the hamza and the ya. The ha is going straight to the lam. The dal, we talked about the makhraj of the dal. I'm not sure how much actually got. I will just do that again, inshallah. So the dal, the makhraj of the dal we haven't really covered yet. So I want to quickly go over the dal. The dal is a letter which is produced using the tarful lisan, or the tip of the tongue. Okay, so we're using that part again, and you've probably noticed that there's a lot of letters which are produced using the tip of the tongue. Where is that part of the tongue going? It is going, what we say is the bottom edge of the upper two incisors, which can sound a little bit wordy. I'll show you on the model, and it will become a lot more clearer, inshallah. So the upper two incisors are the upper two front teeth, these two, okay, the two big teeth at the front, the incisors, right? And where the tongue is actually going is it's going to touch the bottom edge, okay, the very bottom of the teeth, okay? So what's happening is, it's essentially what you're seeing happening is something like this, okay, where the tongue is kind of sticking out a little bit, okay, and is touching the bottom edge of the teeth. So you'll notice, you should be able to see your tongue a little bit as you pronounce this. It's the, the. So we say alladhina, okay, not allazina, because this is quite common with those of us from Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, those kind of areas. So this is alladhina amanu. So let's try saying this, inshallah. Sister Salma, if you'd like to join me for this one. Ya أيها الذين آمنوا.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا.
جزاكم الله خيرا. Just we can try and work on that gunna at the end. You don't want the gunna in the mud. Wow. آمنوا.
آمنوا.
Remember yesterday we were saying to try the oo on its own. Ooh.
Ooh.
Yes. Now get familiar with this feeling. Ooh. And then I'm going to make you say no, but say it slowly and think about where your sound is going after the noon. So ooh, no.
Ooh. No.
It's a little bit still there. There's it's a little bit. With the practice, if you keep doing that exercise where you just say ooh, do, you'll get better and better at it, inshallah. May Allah make it easy for you. Okay, then we come to the next part. We have la yaskhar. We have the la, which is light in 2 counts. The ya is being joined with the seen. Now the seen is a rakhawa letter. It's one of the letters that we prolong and we stay on and we give it time. Okay, so it's yes. We don't say it quickly and just say yes, yes. Keep it running for a bit. Once you've kept it running, yes, then you have to move to a heavy ha. Now we've talked about the ha being from the top of the throat. So just be mindful that you don't make it light and say yes, ha. For example, you want to say yes, ha, ha, ha. Back to that heavy position. Ha. The back of the tongue is slightly raised, slightly pushed back. Ha. Not ha. Okay. La yaskhar. And then the ra is also heavy. Okay. These are both heavy letters. The ra is a tawassut letter, remember, or bayniya. It's one that is not too long and not too short. Sister Humera, if you'd like to join me for this one. لا يسخر.
لا يسخر.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Alhamdulillah. Then we have quite a few rules coming up now. And I'm going to sort of go over them and then we'll put them together, inshallah. We have the word qawmun. The qaf, we've discussed the qaf. Remember, it's the back of the tongue and it's moving backwards and upwards diagonally towards a soft palate. Okay, it's a strong letter and it's also heavy. Qa. But the waw is light. So after saying qa, we shift to a light waw. Qa, qaw, qaw. You don't want to be saying qaw, qaw. See, the waw is heavy then. Qa, qaw. Nice and light at the end. Sister Salma, if you'd like to say that for me, please. Qawmun.
قوم
Not bad. Jazakumullahu khairan. Okay, alhamdulillah. Now we have I don't think I mentioned about the waw. Okay, so we know the waw is light. It's also a rakhawa letter. It's also a one that we keep running. So you say qawmun, qawmun. Keep it running for a bit, then move on to the meme. We then have the meme with the tanween at the top. We have a double, followed by the letter meme again. This rule is what we call idgham. It's idgham kamil bi ghunna. This is the full sort of title of this name, bi ghunna. Actually, it looks like I've written an M, doesn't it? Let's write that again, bi ghunna. What are we doing here? Idgham means to merge. And what you're doing is you're merging the noon sound into the next letter. When we say qawmun, mun, you can hear the noon. You can't see it on the screen, but it's hidden in this tanween. That noon that you hear is going to be replaced by a copy of the meme that's coming after it. Okay, so instead of saying qawmun, we say qawmum, mum, straight to a meme. And this joining part, qawmum, we hold. Remember yesterday we talked about noon mushaddad, meme mushaddad. Whenever a noon or a meme has a shadda on it, you know, it has the long gunna, the joining is prolonged. And we said that the idgham is also one of those which are also prolonged. So this is an example of the idgham. And we hold it just how we hold inna, we hold qawmum min. Okay, so you hold the joining mum before saying the min. We then have another rule straight after that. We have, and I'm going to write this one on top. It's this part here, the noon sakin followed by the qaf. Okay, this rule is different. This time, because the noon has a qaf after it, this is an example of ikhfa haqiqi. Now we've seen this before. And this time is with a heavy ghunna. Why a heavy ghunna? Because the next letter is letter qaf and letter qaf is heavy. So your ghunna should sound heavy. So let's quickly remind ourselves, how do we say the ikhfa? What's the technique? Remember we said, your tongue does not go to the position of noon. Instead, you rely on the nasalization, the ghunna, you rely on that, the sound going through the nasal cavity. That's what you're relying on for the noon sound, okay? That we call the ghunna. And then what's happening in terms of anything else? Well, our tongue is normally what we say for ikhfa is the tongue prepares and gets close to the makhraj of the next letter. That's what we've seen so far. For those of you that are already familiar with this ikhfa rule, okay, and are ready for a bit more information, then a slight, we could call it like an exception to the ikhfa rule, is if you see the letter qaf or the letter kaf after the noon sakin or the tanween. In this case, and this is what we're seeing now, because we've got the noon sakin followed by the qaf, we don't prepare, we don't get close to the noon. Instead, we don't get close to the qaf. Instead, what we do this time is we actually go and press on the articulation point, on the makhraj of the qaf. So we don't say meow and just go close to the qaf. We actually go, as we do the gunna, we're pressing on the qaf. Meow, qaf, meow, qaf. So it's only with the qaf and the kaf we do this, where you actually press on the makhraj, okay? With all the other ikhfa letters, you always just go close to the makhraj, but you don't press on it or you don't touch it. Okay, you just get very close. So here we say min qawmin. Sister Salma, if you'd like to try that for me.
من قوم
Yes, you can be a little bit stronger with your qaf, so you can press on it a little bit more. Min qawmin.
من قوم
That's better. Jazakumullahu khairan. Then we have the next word, which is asa. Now, asa, what we have here is we have the light ain. Remember, the ain is from the middle of the throat, same place as ha, asa, asa. Now, the scene is followed by a mud alif. It has the long mud symbol on it, which means it's going to be held for 4 or 5 counts if we carry on reading, because it has a hamza after it. If we read the next word as well, then we will prolong it for 4 to 5 counts. But if we are running out of breath, or for some reason we decide to stop here, then it becomes 2 counts only. Okay, then we'll say asa, only 2 counts. When we continue reading and we pronounce the hamza, then we will hold it for 4 to 5 counts, and we will say asa an yakunu. Okay, so Auntie Nasreen, if you could join me for just this part here. عسى أن يكونوا.
عسى أن يكونوا.
جزاكم khairan. So we have here the noon sakin followed by a ya. Okay, we've seen this rule before. Okay, a similar type of rule. I don't think we've actually seen it with a ya. We've seen it with a wow. This is an example of what we call idgham naqis, and it's bighunna. Okay, so again, we've seen idgham here, but this one was idgham kamil, the one before, qawmun min qawm. This one was a complete merge. This one is idgham naqis. Naqis means incomplete. You're like half doing it and half doing something else. What you do? What does that mean in terms of how we pronounce this? How do we pronounce this noon sakin followed by the ya? You're pronouncing the noon. How are you pronouncing the noon? You're relying again on the gunna. You're relying on the sound going through the nasal cavity. Your tongue's not at the place of noon. What are you doing instead? At the same time as the sound going through your nasal cavity, you are at the makhraj of a ya, and you're pronouncing the ya. So this time you're pronouncing both letters at the same time. You're pronouncing the noon and you're pronouncing the ya. So you say ayya, ayya. Okay, if you could try this, Sister Humaira. Yakunu.
yakunu.
One more time. Yakunu.
yakunu.
You can do a little bit more gunna. Your gunna is a little bit weak. So I want a little bit more sound going through your nose. Yakunu.
yakunu.
This is good, mashallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Let's move on to the next part, which is so we've done now that there's quite a lot going on here. We've seen idgham kamil, bi gunna, which is this one over here. We've looked at ikhfa haqiqi with a heavy gunna, and this one also had new information because it involved the qaf, which had a slight different technique to it. And now we're seeing idgham naqis bi gunna. There's a lot going on here. So what I suggest is maybe after the lesson, come back and look at this again. Okay, come back and just sort of go over these rules, the techniques. What are we doing? How are we pronouncing them? What are we prolonging? Which part are we prolonging? Inshallah, just to get comfortable and get familiar with this. Okay, so an yakunu, these are both the ku and the nu, two counts because of the mad waw. An yakunu. So you have this balance between the ku and the nu, both two counts. Then we come to the next part. We have khayran minhum. Kha is heavy. Okay, it's joint with the ya. Ya is a rakhawa letter, it's one that we prolong. But the ya should not be heavy. Okay, we want to keep it light. So we say kha, khay. You'll notice that with the ha, you start with your jaw kind of dropped a little bit. Ha, 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 right? When you move to the ya, you stay there for the ha, and then you feel you move to the ya after. Ha, khay, khay, khayran. If you could try that onto the screen.
خيرا.
Okay, we can make it a bit heavier, Auntie. Ha, khayran.
خيرا.
Let's try it on its own, Auntie. Ha.
خا.
Good. Now stay like that in that position. Ha. Finish it first and then go to the ya. Don't rush to the ya too quickly. Take it a bit more slowly. Ha. Khayran.
خيرا.
It's better. I'm not feeling that for the ya, your middle of the tongue is going up, because for the ya, the middle of the tongue goes up, it raises it rises a little bit. So we say hoy, yeah. See the tip of the tongue, the middle of the tongue is elevated. Hoy, I need to hit that ya. Khayran.
Khayran.
Better, it's better. It can be polished up a little bit more. Keep practicing with this, auntie, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. And then here we see again, we have a double followed by a meme. This is the same rule as we saw with qawmun min, this one over here. Now this is getting quite busy, so I'm gonna get rid of a few things. Okay, so we're seeing the similar thing. We have a tanween followed by a meme. So this again, we're coming back to the same rule. It's idgham kamil and it's bi gunna. What does that mean? It means that we're not going to say khayran, we're replacing the noon with a meme, khayran, and then the meme is, you prolong it, and then we continue with minhum. So Sister Humana, if you could say this for me, khayran minhum.
khayram minhum,
Yes, there are a little bit more heavier. khayran minhum.
khayram minhum.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Okay, let's have a go at pronouncing this line, inshallah. So, Sister Salma, if you'd like to join me for this. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم.
The kha can be a little heavier before you join with the ra. لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى.
لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى
عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم.
عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم.
Jazakumullahu khairan, and God bless you. And then we come to the last part. We have wala nisa'un. Wala, be careful with the wow, keep it light. Wala, not wala, not wa. Wala. We stay on the lam because it has the alif with it. We then have the word nisa'un. Now this here we have a mud. It's followed by a hamza. This is what we call mad wajib muttasil. Again, it's a mud which we hold for 4 to 5 counts. Okay, that's why we can see the longer mud symbol at the top. Okay, so this is wala nisa'un. We hold the nisa for 4 to 5 counts. We then go on to the hamza, and again, what we're seeing is another double, a tanween followed by the meme again. So hopefully by this time you've noticed the pattern, and you know that this again is idgham. It's idgham kamil, and it is bi ghunna. Okay, again so it's the same thing. This is the third time we're seeing this rule. What are we doing? We're not saying nisa'un. The noon is being replaced with the meme, and we're going to hold that part. Nisa'un min nisa. And then what you're seeing again here, following on from that, is you're seeing a noon followed by another noon, a noon sakin followed by a noon mutaharrik, and this is actually the same rule. Okay, I know it involves a different letter. We have a noon sakin followed by a noon, but it is the same rule. It is again idgham kamil bi ghunna. So this time we again say min. You hold the min for the longest gunna, because remember we said that the idgham has the longest gunna, so we prolong it. Min nisa. Okay. So we have two parts where we have idgham. Both of these should be held the same amount of time because they are both the same rule. So how are we saying this? Auntie Nasreen, if you'd like to join me for this one. Wala nisa min nisa in asa.
Wala, sorry. ولا نساء من ولا نساء من نساء.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan, Auntie. Auntie, you just need the light letters were a little bit on the heavy side there. It was like wala, nisa, almost like that. So just making sure that wala, nisa, just making sure that they're lighter, inshallah. And yes, I'm glad that you kind of made that first mistake, Auntie, because this will benefit, inshallah, a lot of sisters. So what we do here is when we say min nisa, what you kind of, in terms of what you're seeing and which letters you're moving from and which letter you're moving to, I want you to imagine that you're moving from the meme to this noon, okay? And therefore what you're doing is you only go to the makhraj of the noon once. You say min nisa. You don't say min and let go and then go for the noon again and say min nisa, like, for example, like that. You go to the makhraj only once, you hold it. When you let go, you're pronouncing the kasra. Min nisa, min nisa. So you don't say min nisa, okay? This gives you a much smoother flow. And I'm sure you'd agree that, subhanAllah, it does sound a lot easier on the ears as well. Okay, so just one piece of information about this. For those of you that are already familiar with Mad Wajib Muttasil, there's a lot of information for you today. Remember what I said about taking what you can, okay? Some of this extra detail is for those of you that are already familiar with these rules and you're ready to add a little bit more detail. Okay, so here I mentioned how the alif followed by the hamza here is a mad wajib muttasil. If we are going to carry on reading onto the next word, onto asa, then we will hold this mad for 4 to 5 counts. Okay, 4 to 5 counts. So we will say here min nisa in asa. If, however, we were running out of breath and we were going to stop here, then the rule does change slightly in terms of how long we hold this alif for. If we were to stop, then it's the same name. We would still call it mad wajib muttasil, but this time we can read it for 4, 5, or 6 counts. And for those of you that have done your courses with us, you'll be familiar with the term mahmuzul akhir. That's the reason. It's because of mahmuzul akhir, because the hamza is the last letter of this word. That's why you could bring it up and extend the length of that mud to 6 counts if you wished. Okay, so it could be 4 counts long, 5 counts long, or even 6 counts long if you are stopping. So I'm just going to write stopping there, just so that you remember. Okay. When we stop here, we do the emphasizing. You know, hamza is quite a weak letter in terms of if it has a sukoon. Weak letter is probably not the right term to use, but when the hamza has a sukoon, it's very easy to miss it out. It's very easy to just not hear it, right? So you say nisa. It's very easy to do that kind of, where the listener's not sure whether they've heard a hamza or not. So you have to make sure you make a point of making sure that, one, you've pronounced the hamza clearly, and if there's anybody listening, they also are very clear that you've pronounced the hamza at the end. So how do you do this? This is another example where we add something called nabar if you're stopping. Okay, nabar, remember, was the emphasis. It's where Dr. Ayman Swaid tells us that it's where you emphasize a particular syllable or a particular letter, and sometimes you have to raise the voice a little bit just to make it. It's like I've talked about this before. It's like when we do this in many languages. Like for example, the phrase I just said, many languages. The way I said it, I emphasize many. I could say, we do this in many languages, right? So emphasizing many to try and show you, there's lots and lots of languages that do this, right? So just how I changed my tone in English, when we're looking at Quran, sometimes the tone will change, but there are particular cases where we change the tone. So we can't just change the tone whenever we feel like it. This emphasis, this nabar, has to occur in certain occasions only. There's actually 5 cases. This is one of them. I'm not going to give you all 5 today. I think I've given you enough information. So here, how do we stop on this word? We say nisa. See, that's at the end, that point of stopping on the hamza. I raised my voice slightly, and then I did a very sharp stop so that you could actually hear that jerk or that sudden stop in the voice. Nisa. right? So that's how you want to do the nabar of the hamza if you are stopping on the word. So this is only if you're stopping on this word. If you're not stopping on this word, well, then you don't need to think about the nabar and you just carry on reciting as usual. Okay, let's try this. Sister Zuleika, if you'd like to have a go with me, inshallah. ولا نساء من نساء
ولا نساء من نساء.
Jazakumullah khairan, barakallahu feek. That was very nice, mashallah. Jazakumullah khairan. And if I hope you will notice also how she prolonged the idgham, nisa, and then the min, nisa, they both had the and the min part were both equally balanced. And that's what you're looking for. They both have to be 4 or 5 counts long. Okay? Jazakumullah khairan. Then we come to the next part. We have asa. Now, again, we've seen asa, we saw at the top. So remember we said that this, the alif mud at the end, the alif mud at the end is held for 4 to 5 counts if we carry on reading. If we were to stop here because we're running out of breath, then it would be 2 counts only. Okay. An yakunna, we've seen also before, we saw it here. An yakunu. So it's the same rule again. This is idgham naqis. So we have idgham naqis also here. Okay. So here what are we doing? Nasalization through the via the hunna. We do the hunna through the nasal cavity, and we are pronouncing the ya at the same time. Ya. You should feel the middle of the tongue is rising. Okay, it's not touching the upper palate, but it's it's elevated, the middle of the tongue. Okay, because that's where the ya comes from. So Sister Salma, if you could say this for me, please. Yakunna.
أن يكن.
Jazakumullahu khairan. And notice, I hope you noticed how at the end, Sister Salma, mashallah, the way that she finished the noon, she didn't prolong it. She prolonged the kun, but when she got to the na, the fatha of the noon, it was only 1 count. So be careful with that. It's an easy mistake to make. We say an yakunna, not an yakunna, na, this long na at the end. You want to avoid that because it's only 1 count. There's no mad alif here. Khayran, we've seen before, nice heavy kha, moving to the light ya, and the ya is rakhawa. And again, once again, we're seeing a double, the tanween, followed by the meme. Again, this is the 4th time we're seeing the same rule, idgham, kamil, bi gunna. So again, what are we doing? We're not saying khayran, we're saying khayram, and then we're going to hold that part. Because this is one of the reasons of having akmal gunna, the longest gunna. And then we say min hun. When we say hun, so when we stop on this noon mushaddad, remember we're stopping on a noon mushaddad, longest gunna again. So we're prolonging quite a few things in this ayah, this part of the ayah. Khayram min hun. Khayram min hun. If you could try this for me, Auntie Nasreen.
khairam minhun.
Yes, with the min, Auntie, when you say the noon here, this noon is not prolonged. So it's just a standard, the wassat bayniya letter that you don't prolong for too long, but not too short either. Min, finish it, move on to the ha. We'll try that one more time. Khayram minhun.
Khairam minhun.
Jazakumullah khairan. Okay, let's try the whole ayah, inshallah. Sister Salma, if you'd like to join me for this, please. Actually, Sister Salma, did you read this before? The top. Okay, so let's do Sister Zuleika, if you'd like to join me for this part. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم.
So just your ha can be a little bit heavier when you say the in yaskhar, yaskha, kha, khar. Okay, I'll start from la yaskhar, inshallah. You can try and fix that, inshallah. لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى.
لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى
جزاكم الله خيرا. عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم.
عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم.
Okay, so the only thing I would mention here is the wow after in the word yakunu. The first wow is better, and in this one here in yaku, but in the nu, because you've got the gunna at the beginning with the noon, your gunna is getting carried into the mad wow. I think we saw this. Did we see it? We've seen it before, right?
Yeah.
So it's coming back to that
Yeah.
unu yakunu. The other way, actually, because it's already preceded with this wow here, and this one does not have the gunna in it because it's easier to pronounce because it hasn't got a letter with gunna before it. It's just got the kaf. So the way you say yaku, the way you feel yourself ending it, yaku, you want to go back to that same ending even with the nu. Yakunu.
Yakunu.
Yes, mashallah, barakallahu fiki. I think you felt that, right? You knew, you could tell the difference. Alhamdulillah. I'm going to make you say that again now. Barakallahu fiki. I'm going to make you say that again now because, mashallah, that was, alhamdulillah. May Allah give you consistency in it. عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم.
عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم.
جزاكم الله خيرا. And the last part, ولا نساء من نساء عسى.
ولا نساء من نساء عسى.
عسى أن يكن خيرا منهن.
عسى أن يكن خيرا منهن.
Jazakumullah khairan. May Allah bless you. Jazakumullah khairan. Just very quickly, I just want to talk about why is it that we stop on this noon mushaddad at the end? Why do we spend so long on it? One reason is because we want it to sound different because sometimes you'll have a noon, you'll be stopping on a word, like for example, the word in. If you stop on the word in, the noon has a sukoon, but it doesn't have a shadda. And the one that we are reading here has a shadda. So really, if we're stopping on this in and we're stopping on hun or hunna, the listener needs to be able to tell, she's stopping on a noon with a shadda here, or she's stopping on a regular, just a noon that hasn't got a shadda. They have to both sound different. And so they do sound different because when we say in, we just pronounce this noon with the wasut. So we just say in, that's it. We don't prolong it. But when we stop on the mushaddad noon, when we say minhun, we prolong it even longer. And that is one of the reasons, that's one way of distinguishing and making it again clear, subhanAllah. So coming back to the same point where if tajweed is applied, it leaves no room for misunderstanding or mishearing. It makes every letter very, very clear. You know, if I was to recite and you could not, and you did not have the Mus'haf in front of you, if somebody was writing the words of the Quran as somebody was reciting them, the way that the person reciting should be reciting, if they are reciting correctly, then the writer should be able to write every word exactly just as it should be just as we find it in the Quran, because the way of it being read, subhanAllah. May Allah make us of those who are proficient in our recitation and that do avoid any such kind of misunderstanding in our pronunciation or from anybody who's hearing from us. جزاكم الله خيرا. اللهم تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.